Okay, and camera is rolling.
Good.
Wow.
It feels a bit like with the strings, you remember, when we were ducking.
Okay, so now we're just going to start talking. What I'm going to talk about. Welcome, introduction. Your questions and private. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Maria's channel. I'm Shreddy, this is Maria. I am co-founder, the artistic director of the channel of Maria. And Maria is the music producer, the vocalist, the singer. And we wanted to make this interview this time because many of you guys asked for it, talking about the music video, not my drama, what is the philosophy behind it and the psychology. We had also many questions asking about the artistic process. We are going to go through those questions and I'm going to blur your names for the purpose of privacy so that you never know those social media platforms, every time they come with new rules and regulations, so we're going to hide your names. So I would like also kind of to thank you all because you were very engaged and very loving, so you are part of this. We are going to start like this, that the questions in the beginning are going to be referring to the viewer as the consumer, art consumer, the normal viewer, and slowly we're going to get to the point where we talk about technicalities, and we had questions also from professionals who've asked about the artistic progress. So we are going also to leave that to the end. So if you like professionals, you can stay with us till the end. Anyway, so do you have anything to say? Or
First of all, also I would like to thank everyone that was commenting, and we got a lot of nice questions. I'm really excited about it, and I would just jump right into it.
Okay, you can go.
There's really a lot of nice things to talk about. So there's one question, the first one. It covers a lot of topics, so mainly around the characters and the props that we used and all those elements in the video. And he's asking, can you talk about the message it carries for the viewer? So
what the props, the message of the props, what they carry to the viewer?
He's mentioning a lot of aspects. So he's talking about the three characters that are in addition to the main character. And he would like to know why we decided to put another three characters in addition to the main one. And he's mentioning also the clothes and the props that we use. So some details that are...
You mean the message of the whole work?
Yeah.
Including all those small details.
Yeah.
The music video is talking about this group dynamics or those relationships where you have a person who has narcissistic motives or like psychopathic motives to trap others using the enablers, the cowardly sheeple that don't think, they just listen to the spider in the music video. This spider can represent any character that looks to prey emotionally on others or to abuse others. And of course you have the character that is trapped into this dynamics. But of course you have the third character, the fourth character, that is in the light, which looks down on everything that happened. Of course I'm making my interpretations of how I saw things and why I put those scenes in this way, but everyone is open to think however they want and to perceive the scene in your own ways, or like to associate things from the point of view of how you lived life and how you associate things based on your belief systems and your perceptions. So I'm not here I'm just sharing why I thought that what those scenes should represent. So the message is that trying to make people more aware of who are those characters that try to trap them into those ties, into those relationships, because many people think that they are their best friends, and that the narcissist is their best friend or their best family member, but actually that family member or that friend has a hidden agenda, has an interest, and he's preying emotionally on the victim, and enjoys actually seeing him or her trapped into that codependency, into that place where they are confused and panicked, because when they are panicked, they look good. The narcissist looks perfect when the victim looks bad. Because if you are an intelligent person, you are happy to be surrounded by intelligent people. But if you're not very intelligent, you would wish to have somebody who's much less intelligent than you, or to make somebody look very not intelligent in order for the narcissist to look good. So, maybe the idea was not very clear yet, but when we go through more questions, maybe we can clarify it even more.
There are actually a lot of questions that point to this, also specifically the characters, because I think they are quite dominant, those different characters in the video. And
those three characters.
So, we have the black spider, the creepy spider woman.
You have a kind of the predator.
Yeah.
And it's also important to remember that when we think about the term predator, we tend to think about a certain character that comes from the movies, from the serial killers. And no. Predators can be a very nice, beautiful, good-looking person. Very soft.
Sneaky.
The sneakiness is also kind of very covert. Very passive-aggressive or invisible. I made this predator in this shape because we are not aware of those kind of predators. We are aware of predators, how films portrayed them. But, so we have this predator. We also have the character of the cowardly sheep, that enabler, that is happy to be part of a cult, just to abuse as the scapegoat, just to be part of the good, of the cool ones. But actually the predator despises that coward. And of course you have the scapegoat, who somehow, with the circumstances and the ties, brings himself or herself into that situation. And the singer, which is the one after the healing, after the reflection and getting out of those traps, looks back, and she's already in a different place.
Yeah, this also leads to some aspects of this question, or some more details about the puppet, for example, the puppet that has the strings on it, the wooden one. Since you mentioned the relationship also with the sheep and that black woman. And also one thought that I just had now about those props. The lipstick, in this question he mentions the lipstick. So why is she putting on the lipstick? Because this is how I understood it also from how you designed the character, is that she's so concerned about her image. It's very important to her. So it's how she's been perceived from the outside is very important. She looks good and it's all perfect. So also referring to what you said, that this predator doesn't have to be necessarily look like a typical predator, how we imagine him or her. That's also important. In this video specifically, I play all the characters, but it doesn't mean that they are all necessarily female. So they could be male as well. It's just because I'm a female, so they came out like that. But it's more of a spirit, more spirit that is representing them. And all those details, the props, those things, they have a meaning. You say, you were specifically telling me what you think that character should wear and that character should wear. like some ideas when we prepared it that refer to some character traits of each of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's nothing there just accidentally. Every character, every design is made for a purpose, to deliver a specific thought. And for me, the puppet that you mentioned, it's like a remote control. That predator manipulates others from far away. It doesn't need to tell them what to do. It just shapes the circumstances. It just prepares the background. It just goes into a situation like with a lipstick. It's very important. The image is very important. How they're being perceived is more important than the essence. The essence can be whatever. But what is important is how people perceive them. Because that's how they hijack their consciousness, through the image, through the facade. And we can talk a lot because there's a lot of facade, and many people fall for it. When people are not conscious, they fall for it. So this was important for me to talk about this thought.
this also catches the essence of the song, because when I was writing it, it's some years back, so it was around 2018, I think, more or less. So where it came from, it was from an observation and an experience of the personal life and the environment that I was in. So it's a process that comes from a very long time back, let's say. So this being trapped in those ropes and being manipulated by this predator, it's something that is very old. So this consciousness of realizing this kind of manipulation, it takes a lot of time. So you're not like just you're being trapped and you realize immediately you're trapped. This moment of realizing, oh, this is actually not the story I want to be in. This is not my drama. I've never been part of this thing. Like, what is this? Oh my God, I'm trapped. What happened to me? This moment of realization, this is the essence of the song. So when those lyrics came to me, this was the moment, thinking of, okay, what's actually going on here? Is this me? Or, I mean, I'm speaking now in general for everyone who's in this kind of situation. So everyone that feels trapped in such a relation with some narcissistic entity or in the society. So that moment of realizing that you are trapped and that you are actually a total different person than the one that predator wants you to be. And yeah, so this is the essence of the lyrics, the first moment when it came up. And from there, the whole story was spinning, and I thought more about some details. But this is also something we can talk about later, like the songwriting process. Someone was asking about it. But I just wanted to refer to this dynamic of the trapped one and the predator and the sheep, the enabler sheep in this case, and the puppet.
Yeah.
How deep those manipulations are sitting, usually.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, we can go to the next question.
Yeah. So, I mean, the next one is also referring to this. Someone asking, I still wonder about the characters' roles, especially the one in the spider-like clothing. So there's some things we've already answered towards this. But maybe there's something more.
I mean, this is the dynamic. The dynamic is a predator a victim, and in the middle there's the enabler that enables and facilitates the abuse of the predator. And that is not less than the predator in this thing, the enabler, the one who's supporting the abuse and facilitates the abuse and thinks he's neutral. He's neutral, but he's not neutral. He's on the side of the predator. He's on the side of the abuser. And inside, he's might be also enjoying the fact that the victim is being trapped. So I've chose in the music video to have this sheep character with this sheep clothes and stuff like this, to refer to the idea of a sheep, of a cowardly sheep. Because of budget issues and because of production limitations, I made it only one character, but I would have wished to have many actors that are even many ideas in how we can make those sheep, because they're not one person. The predator needs consensus. It needs validation of society. It needs everybody to be on their side. This is the predator, because he needs unconscious people to do the dirty work for them. The predator, it will not do it himself or herself, because then it will look bad. It should look, with the makeup and the lipstick, it should look noble to those sheeple. But she's not. She's a predator. So I chose one character to represent that sheep, but it's much more. But we put one character. And of course you have the victim that is trapped and find its way out. It is almost impossible for people to find their way out unless they are very conscious of what they are doing. They need to be very conscious. It's like going between the drops when it's raining. It is almost mission impossible to get out of a narcissistic relationship. So that's why it needs a lot of intelligence, even in the Western world, where it facilitates and where it enables such relationships to happen. Those relationships can go to be more instituted and even established in the political system, in the financial system. So it's almost impossible to detect them or to acknowledge them on a social scale. So the victims would be suffering without even daring to think that there's something wrong with the picture, because it's totally outside their perception, outside their conception. They have been programmed not to think that there's something wrong with that. They tell you, don't complain. They can destroy and they can do, but don't complain, because you are the victim. You should not complain. They are allowed to do whatever they want, but you should not complain. And many belief systems like those that increase that state, that abuse and that suffering of the victim. So that's why I thought about this triangle, those three characters, which is the predator, the victim, and the enabler, the one who allows everything to happen, whether being keeping silence, like not saying the right thing in the right time and in the right place, or pretending to do a favor or to help. Or there's many ways of how people how those cowardly sheeple enable abuse. So that's the thought that I wanted to deliver with those characters.
This was also very interesting for me, because this enabler character I didn't have in the picture when I wrote the song, actually. I just was in those mainly two, let's say, characters dynamic, the one that is trapped and the one that is trapping the other one, the other person. But I felt it could even be something between you and yourself. So sometimes you trap yourself in certain habits. It can be another person. It can be this whole society, like things that you've learned that you are now feel stuck in a role that you play that is not yours, and you want to get out of it, and you want to be finally yourself and really to be free. And then when we worked on it, and you mentioned that enabler character, that was really interesting because I didn't think of that when I wrote the song. And I also love those processes when we work together, that and then suddenly you bring something into the picture that I haven't even thought of in that context of the music. And it brings a new dimension to it, a new layer. And yeah, it's right. It's a very important character in that, in this whole dynamic. And it's actually always there. Maybe sometimes so invisible that we are not really aware of it. So we are not paying so much attention to it. But
I think that the prodigy is very coward. He's coward.
Yeah.
He needs enablers. He needs sheeple. He needs sheep to sustain or to do the dirty job for him or her. So they will not do it themselves. Those predators, those covert narcissists, they need enablers that can even be like a remote control, manipulated from far away, just by passive aggression. There's a lot of techniques. I mean, on my channel, those who follow my channel, I talked about it a lot, about plausible deniability and about a lot of emotional manipulation techniques. So I tried to put it in this video, just in the image, in the visuals,
and also those kind of characters, they are part of classical drama. I mean, the song is called Not My Drama, so this theme of drama is also emphasized. So we find them in a lot of classic dramas like Shakespeare, or I mean, you know much more about it than me about that part. But yeah,
it's of course it's part of the group dynamics. I mean, today we see many films on those film channels. No, not film channels. Those applications, like film companies, like Netflix and Prime and all those things, where they make films that are trying to reverse everything from the ancient wisdom and to try to reverse the roles. Well, one time I saw the film of Cinderella. It is genius how they flipped everything. Where they made Cinderella like a very selfish woman that all she wants is just to make her business and she doesn't care about anybody else. The film didn't start like this. The film started with the classical interpretation, with the classical story. After half an hour, they changed the roles. Suddenly, the sisters of Cinderella are actually doing the work, the housework, and the mother is very empathic. And Cinderella is just a selfish woman who all she thinks about is herself. Those filmmakers, either they hate the original story of Cinderella because they are on the abusive side of history, or somehow in their statistics, they try to appeal to the masses. Perhaps the Western civilization will not conceive the classical story of Cinderella. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know it's a story, but for me, I take those things personally because there is an ancient wisdom that tries to speak about universal values and about the code of the human behavior, and all this is being somehow manipulated in the modern or postmodern art scene.
Totally.
Either out of nihilism or out of any reason, but for me it's important to talk about the classical conception of the human interaction.
Yeah, to be really truthful about that, because it's really, I also see this, it's being blurred totally nowadays, and things are being flipped, even characters are being flipped, roles are being, the dynamics are put out upside down, and this is a great example with the Cinderella story, because we all know it, and I also wonder if some people are not noticing what they did there, but it's really sad. It's almost cringy when you see that it's put upside down like this, and yeah, that's why you stick to the classical ancient tradition in a way, and also the theme of the black and white, it has to do with that, right? Because someone asked here, why was the video only shot in black and white? And it's unusual today. You have a lot of colored videos, especially on YouTube. And
I wanted to show contrasts. I wanted to show contrast. For me, in this interaction, it's black and white.
Yeah.
For many people, it's gray zones, it's colors, it's maybe desaturated, maybe it's not so clear, maybe they hide behind the words and the beziphon and the interpretations of things. For me, it's black and white. The abuser is the abuser. The predator is the predator. The sheep is the sheep. And it is very, those characteristics are so dominant. So nobody can hide behind the colors. It's black and white. And also there's the black and white where you have the black background, where the victim is trapped into that reality, into that abusive reality. And you have also the white background where the character, after the healing, sits in that heaven, looking down on the memories, or like remembering the memories, but from above. So it's not only like black and white, there's also camera angles and all those choices of how it's been made from down to up in that context. That so she's like a goddess looking at the earthy interaction where opportunistic entities are just preying on each other for emotional supply. And society enables that. This is the enablers. So this is the black and white. It is the truth. It is, in that context, is black and white. Yeah. Of course, there's many places, other places where things might be dependent on interpretations and perceptions and opinions and things like this. But in that context, the idea is black and white. There is no compromise.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that again. Because I thought more about the drama aspect, which also plays a role, but that makes it very clear as well. Yeah, that's also how I perceive it. It's the roles are very clear, and that doesn't have to be any misunderstanding about it, or like trying to make the victim look as a predator, or like, oh, maybe she is a predator herself, or she was willingly putting herself into that situation. I mean, okay, in a way, we know when you free yourself, or you have to be willing to free yourself. So there's also some aspect of being trapped because you're not really making a clear decision of breaking free. There's an aspect there, but to mix up those roles, it's also very abusive to flip them around and to. So I like that idea of the black and white. It's very clear in black and white, and we don't have to negotiate now about those gray zones and those here. And you also have a part in it. And
the abusers would love to negotiate.
They love that.
They'd love to sit and to negotiate and to say, it's a gray zones, it's not so, no, you think the abusers would love to talk about that.
Yeah.
The victim knows exactly what happened.
Yeah. And
it's black and white. Mm-hmm. So this is the idea. It's the point of view of the victim, not the abusers.
Exactly, yeah. And the victim just wants to be free and to break out of that situation. Mm-hmm. And then it doesn't want to have anything to do anymore with the predators. That's also something that it just moves on. Like in the end, she's freeing herself, and then she's moving out of the screen, out of the picture. She's going forwards and out and into the world, and hopefully heals and recovers from all this. So there's no looking back and starting to debate about it and to sit down with a spider woman and have a debate about why did you trap me and how like all those things. Yeah,
And also kind of, even though there's no such thing as sitting with that creepy spider, because those people function in the domain of the invisible. In the world that is not visible, they will not say the things that can trap them, that can hold them accountable. They just facilitate the situation. They create, they have their needs and they have their urges, their narcissistic urges. And they just get to them through using those sheeple, the people that do the job for them. So they will never be held accountable. The sheeple will be held accountable. And if the sheep doesn't get the results, the sheep will also be scapegoated. Just like at the end of the music video, if you remember, the sheep got scared from you setting yourself free, from the victim setting itself free, and the creepy spider was breaking the leg of the sheep, was punishing the sheep, was scapegoating the sheep. You didn't get me what I wanted. You didn't get me that scapegoat. So the sheep would be an enabler and a facilitator until he can't get the job done. It will be itself scapegoated. So humanity needs an awakening as soon as possible when it comes to their role into enabling abuse, invisible abuse, on an individual scale and also on a social scale.
Oh, yeah.
But it even goes beyond just the personal relationships.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are not there yet. We're still on the level of the physical, debating about physical abuse and violence and those things. But those things are much more devastating, actually. It's even confirmed by people who research on those topics that this kind of abuse is much more devastating and it cuts much deeper into the behavior of people and the society.
There's endless of examples of how can this happen in realistic life, of how the abuser can manipulate the sheep in order to get his objectives from the victim. I just put it in this music video in a way that looks a little bit more artistic and symbolic, and because I didn't want to get too much into realism, because then it will become like kind of just an example, and I don't want people to think that this example is the way that those people function. No, it's just a symbol for a wide range of actions and behaviors. So just a symbol. This breaking the puppet and how she manipulates the sheep.
Yeah, and also the spider web, and because also it's a question that came here and then. What's the meaning of the spider and the web? It's also a symbol, right? So for that. It's a very nice fitting symbol because spiders are also sneaky and they sit in corners and they put their web in an invisible way. I mean, the spiders' webs are transparent and you often don't even see them, so you can run into it and get stuck in it very easy. So they're put out in the right places, so it's also a symbol.
This is one side of it, yeah. The other side of it, which is why the victim is trapped in it, it is the idea of ties, relationships. If you have a relationship with a family member, this tie, this connection, this relationship is one line or one tie that might be complicated. But in another something that crosses that connection, you already have something that can be complicated. You can have a tie. So relationships, even in the closest relationships to us, there are ties. We are connected. But that connection, if it's been abused, it becomes a trap. It's the same connection that connects people. When it's abused, it becomes a trap. So I'm not talking about some stranger that is here necessarily, that is setting to hunt you down or setting a trap to take you down. It is the ties. And many times we choose our relationships, because in a certain way, we might love some people. We might be born into certain relationships. We are born into those ties. So it might be chosen out of free will. You might be born into it, but at the end of the day, if those ties and relationships are being abused, they become the trap. Like kind of. It's not that the spider doesn't know the fly and sets only a trap for the fly to come and he can eat the fly. It is that the fly is connected emotionally and in a relationship with the spider.
I love that. That's also in the lyrics. I mean, you picked it out from there also, that the protagonist or the person that's singing the lyrics saying, I try to detangle everything, but you all the time close those open ends again, so there's no way out. So there's already a dynamic of relationship.
I love this part in the song. I really love it. This where you try to detangle confusion. Mm-hmm. You try to make things clear. You put things. You might be writing a diary. You put the date. You try to make things to detangle confusion. And every time you make things clear, they go from behind and they make things more complicated.
Yeah.
As if they want things to be complicated, as if they don't want anybody to find the truth, don't want anybody to follow and to know the cause and effect that led to the current situation. So I love this part in the song.
Yeah, that's what I thought about, like that desperation also in a way. Because it doesn't matter what you are doing, you can try to clear up things as much as possible. But if there's someone behind the scenes, or that very person that you negotiate with is sneaking around and then tangling everything together again, that you just try to unwrap and to make it clear, it's becoming desperate and also senseless in a way. So there's no negotiation possible. How you say, like, don't negotiate with a fool? No, that was some different quote. I forgot it. Maybe I remember during the conversation, like. Don't
Never mind, if you remember it, you will tell me later.
Yeah, don't argue with, I don't know, maybe someone remembers that quote and can write it in the comments. Okay, but oh wow, this already goes very deep. So I continue with some more questions, and I think that some we've already answered even. So what caught the victim in the spiderweb? Although her free spirit. This is also interesting.
This is the same thing, that it's the ties, it's the relationships. She didn't know there was supposed to be a trap. When you are born into a narcissistic family, you're born into that house. You don't know that it's a trap. The tie becomes the trap. The relationship becomes the trap. But not every relationship is supposed to be a trap. In a healthy environment where people are conscious, where people hold everyone accountable, where there's no double standards, in such healthy, harmonic environment, the relationships are a tool for growth and for learning and for love and for harmony and for exchange. So it empowers everyone in the pack. But in sick environments, in sick, unhealthy social environments, their relationships can be the trap. Would you give up a relationship with someone that you learned to love because society have defined that belief system that you should love that family member because of this and that and this and that, and now you are struggling against a belief system that you've been programmed upon since childhood. So you're not only fighting the narcissist, you're fighting a belief system that is being reinforced by a whole society of enablers and sheep that want to reinforce that, because maybe many of them is not courageous enough.
That's why even if she's a free spirit by heart, let's say, like in her real identity, it still doesn't mean that she's not conditioned by those circumstances and she has a hard time to get out of it. And it needs a lot of time. It's a journey. So that's why I also mentioned in the beginning, it's something that can be very old, and the realization comes at some point. There must be some trigger or something that brings that conscious realization into her life that she's trapped, and also to realize that she's a free spirit in the first place. She or he, I mean, doesn't matter in this case. It's a he.
If you are born into a certain family as a child, you've born into that relationship.
Yeah.
You've been born into that relationship. You've not, free spirit or not free spirit, you've been born, you've not chosen consciously to be part of it. But when you become adult, you can choose to stay or to go. When you are adult, when you can act sovereignly. But as a child, you've been born into those relationships. If you remember, like the music video starts with a tie, piece of rope that ties with something else, with ties with something. It's their relationships. And not every relationship is supposed to be toxic and supposed to be a trap. Not every relationship, but many relationships, they don't consciously transform into a trap, but the narcissistic interests and the narcissistic urges and needs of one part shape that kind of trap. Abusive relationships, that's in short. So if you've been born into that relationship, it's not about a free spirit anymore. Free spirit is now to find your way out.
Yeah.
It's not why you've been trapped into it. It's how you can find your way out. Trapped is you've been born into it.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we are all born free in the first place. So all those things come later in a way, but they can be very, very early.
Yeah.
On the first day, you
always
take the
can
first
choose.
breath,
The moment you are conscious and you're adult, you can choose. You're not a child anymore. You might be been born into it, but the moment you're adult, you can choose. You can't just hide behind the justification. I was born into it. No, you're an adult man or an adult woman, and you can make a choice and move on. And you are conscious. If you are conscious, you will not allow anyone to take advantage of you sexually or emotionally. You know how to set boundaries. You know who's your friend and who's your enemy. What is your priorities. And you will not invite the vampire inside. Like this image from the vampires.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, the spider woman looks a bit like a vampire in a way. Yeah, and that's what the whole thing is about. It's about this breaking free process. So we are not anymore in this suffering state, actually, even though there's some struggle going on. So she's struggling to get out, and also in the lyrics, okay, we have the situation of being trapped again and again, but it's about that moment of breaking free and setting the boundary and finally moving on and saying no to that drama that is imposed, and that also consumes a lot of time and attention and energy, and it's just something that stands in the way of the path of the free spirit to really thrive and go into the world and to live the best version of him or herself. And so it's more of an empowering song and video. That's also something I want to make clear, because it's not about the suffering. It looks very dramatic in some scenes. Like there is pain, of course. The pain is huge, but the position from where it's presented is already a free place, from a free place, so that the one that is singing it is outside that situation.
Yeah.
Already overcame it. So she's just looking back or looking down on it, like you said, And so it's supposed to give hope and to empower. Yeah.
I mean, there's also this idea of why, I mean, in this song, the character chose to set herself free. Many people would never set themselves free. They'd prefer to stay in those ties because the predator provide food or provide financial support, sometimes emotional support. So they can't, they prefer to stay inside. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of comfort. Now, this is the nice story about, the genius thing about the story of Buddha, that he preferred to leave the palace in order for him to be sovereign and free. The palace, Siddhartha. But many people here would not leave their mothers, the bank transfers of their mothers and their fathers. They would never give up the financial support of the welfare system and the government, whatever, in order to be sovereign and free. You know what I mean? So that's why the Buddha, the awakening is getting out of this trap, regardless of how fancy and comfortable it looks like, and just in order to walk his own path into freedom and sovereignty. And the Western civilization makes it too comfortable for people to dare to walk their own path. They go to the Buddhism temple and they think they are Buddhists. Or they go to the church or any religion and they think they are sovereign and they are have a connection with a higher consciousness. And no, they are part of a cult. They're just repeating social habits and social ceremonies. And so the path of sovereignty, the path of the Buddha, the path of the awakening is letting go of those kind of codependent relationships where you are dependent on a system that, supplies some privileges, but will keep me trapped. Let that go and make a choice and move on into the path of sovereignty and growth and transcendence and vision. And there's a lot of heaven out there. Yeah.
By the way, I really, really love this story. Like, Siddhartha is one of my absolute favorite books. I mean, there's a lot of stories written around this, but this story, it's by a German author who wrote it, specifically one book. I really love it because it resonates with this whole situation in the society and that journey of sovereignty and breaking free. So, yeah, absolutely on point. And it's not easy. So it's not something, like you said, most people stay there, they get stuck in there and they never make the step, which is sad because you need to leave that comfort behind and those things that you are used to, that bring you advantages. And I mean, may not look like this on first sight, but they bring some advantages also, those trap places. So, yeah. But it's really worth it. It's worth it to leave that behind. Absolutely.
It's worth it to be sovereign and free. Yeah. There's no such thing. There's no those who see, they will not even look back. Or who see the difference, they will not even consider. No. Free and sovereign that's what matters.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can go to the next question.
Yeah. Okay, here's one that's also related to what we were talking about already. So, what are the threats that constitute usually a trap and one's physical reality? I'm not sure I'm getting this one right. So,
I think there's a lot. There's the social pressure. There is the beliefs. Beliefs that can come from whether it's religions or political beliefs. national beliefs, racial beliefs. Many people are motivated out of racism or out of nationalism, out of feminism, out of, I don't know, mysticism, any beliefs that they convince themselves with, and this becomes the filter that they see reality with. And of course, social pressure that reinforces such beliefs. And so you have in our world, of course. So our world is full of those traps.
Yeah.
But if somebody would want to know that, so it's impossible to talk about it in general. If somebody wants to do it personally, so everyone needs to find his own or her own fingerprint, because everyone has the characteristics of their own journey and history and the challenges and.
There's also one more. I mean, this is again related to the wooden puppet. So the influence that gets executed via the wooden puppet, is it magic? It's also interesting, or a belief in a false self?
The puppet for me was like the remote control that on one hand manipulates others to move in a certain way that is in line with the interests of the predator. And secondly also, the same remote control that can transform the enabler into a victim if they don't deliver. So now the puppet is the remote control, because they are puppets. It's just the puppets, it's a symbol, it's in the hands of the predator. Of course, magic. You can call it magic, you can call it the power of the witches or whatever, but for me it is psychology. The moment they create the emotional state where it triggers something in the other person, then that's passive action. This is an invisible action. I'll give you an example. I'm a mother, and I want my son is not doing what I want. So I'm sitting with his cousin, and I'm saying to him, I love my son. I love my son. He's not doing what I'm afraid for him. I love him. I'm afraid. And the other person, the enabler, start thinking, oh my God, this bad son. He's not listening to his mother. She's just saying, I love him. Yeah. The other person starts saying, bad son. I'm going to talk to him. He now suggests and he initiates something that she didn't tell him go talk to him. He on his own concluded that he should talk to him because she's pretending that she loves her son and she wants his interest and she's caring for him. You know what I mean? So this is the remote control. It's invisible. And you have a lot of those things. It's just one pattern that I'm trying to make it a little bit more realistic. But there's a lot of techniques of how this can trigger something in the other person to initiate an action based on his own opinion, but is being motivated by an invisible tie, by an invisible trigger. Because if that person, the enabler, acts upon it violently, and they go to the court of law, and they say, why did you act violently? He would say, I did it because she told me. She would say, no, I didn't tell him. I said I love my son. You acted on your own. You got what she wanted. You achieved her objective. But not in a way that she can be confronted with. So there's a lot of technique and emotional manipulation techniques like this that narcissists and predators, emotional predators, can use through this remote control, this puppet.
That's why they also look like magic sometimes, because you need a very sharp eye to detect them, and you need a lot of experience with such situations to be able to see what is going on, because it's so hidden, so invisible. So in a way, it can really appear like magic or something.
Well, what is magic? It is doing things in the background, behind the consciousness of people, and they are surprised. You tell them, look here, but actually the thing is happening here. So you are distracted by something, and you are distracted by, I love my son. You are very distracted by that, while the magic happens somewhere else, where the actual happening is happening somewhere else. This is magic. It is not something that is above normal.
Yeah.
It is just that people are not conscious of it. It happens in the domain of the invisible to them.
And then also, this is something we were also referring to before. Is the freedom of one risky to the other? And I remember you were talking about the sheep that is in the end getting scared because the victim is breaking free. So the sheep doesn't knows subconsciously that she or he is now in danger by the predator's actions. So this is, I think, also one aspect related to this. The freedom of one is risky to the others. So absolutely, I would say definitely.
I can give you an example of what I mean. Is that think about like a lion that hunts a deer. If the deer sets himself free, the lion might die out of hunger, or the cubs might die out of hunger. So the freedom of the deer might mean the death of the lion. That's how scary it is to the predators. For them, they think it's a survival need. If you run away, they really might get something really bad on the level of the health and the level of the finances. So it is definitely not only to the sheep scary, also to the predator themselves.
Yeah, she also runs away in the end, scared.
Yeah, but even before that, they must trap you because they're afraid of your freedom. If you are in a place where you are very competent, okay, and the person next to you is not very competent, but he has the authority, or she has the authority, the incompetent has the authority. By you being very competent and you are a subordinate, by you shining, okay, by you becoming more visible and more acknowledged, this creates a reference how incompetent they are. So they must keep you failing. They must always keep you trapped, messy, in order for you not to create that reference and not to expose their truth just by being who you are.
Mm-hmm. Also, they try to keep the victim crazy. It's something
that makes them look sane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we emphasize this even in the makeup and the looks. You know, there's a lot of tears going down, and it's very dramatic. But this is also reflecting that crazy-making process of the predator. So the victim has to be in a kind of an out-of-mind state. Of course, it also shows the pain the victim's going through, the real pain. But this is one important aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Great. I can...
Should I touch the computer or it's fine now?
It's fine.
Still recording?
Yeah, it's still recording. Durable. Good. So we are now already moving towards the more technical questions. That's also interesting.
Okay, philosophy and psychology are over. Now we go to the professional...
The very deep parts. So now it gets a bit more technical. So someone is asking, I would be interested in your songwriting process. So this is more towards me. Did you first come up with the lyrics and then the music, or the other way around? And how do you decide on the style of music, instruments, sounds, etc.? Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, usually generally spoken, it's always different. It depends. Sometimes music and lyrics come at the same time, or I would even say mostly they appear at the same time. Sometimes it's first the lyrics, then the melody sneaks or work on it. And sometimes it's the musical idea first. But what is much more important in this process is the theme. Because when I write a song, first there is a topic or a theme or something that that I'm busy with emotionally or mentally. It can come from wherever, can be a story or a personal experience or what I observe in society, what is going on in the world. So all of those aspects can trigger that. But this is always first there. I never had this situation that I was sitting and, I want to write a song. What should I write about? Let's say what topic could be. No, I never approach it that way, or I also don't have that. Normally, I'm just writing a piece of music and then later I put lyrics on it. Something like this. So when I just write music, it's music without lyrics. So there's first a theme, a topic, something that is burning, something I want to get out. And in the case of Not My Drama, it was also exactly like this. It was just something I was burning on. And this thing with, this is not my drama. I don't want to play this role. I want to be myself. And then the lyrics and the music, in this case, just came at once. So I had this sentence, the phrase in the head. I've never been part of this drama. That was the first thing that came. And then the melody was there at the same time. So it's a bit hard to explain. But then later I was developing it further, so I was just thinking about what else is in that story. And then, of course, I was really sitting down working on it and the melody to develop it with the lyrics. And for me it was important that there's some kind of peak escalation because it goes into that image of the drama. So there's contrasts in the music. And I wanted to bring them out also in the instruments. So you have those strong drums that pop in all of a sudden. And they bring that surprise effect of drama and emergency and alertness and awakenedness in this situation. Because at first, when the idea of the song came, I had this vision of a very, very calm and silent music, so almost whispering. So it's I was imagining myself more in the place of a very safe, like I was imagining myself being in a very safe place and very protected. And from there, I'm talking about this situation that happened, like being trapped in the drama, like kind of retrospect, looking back. So the music in my mind was very calm and very silent, and it's like being in the center of the storm, and around you there's a lot of chaos, but you're safe now, and you can look at that situation. So that was the first idea. But then later I wanted to bring out more of those contrasts and that struggle between that safe space and that breaking free from the traps. So that's why the music is going a bit back and forth between calm, classic, but stringy, and then the drums and the explosiveness in it. So that's basically, I mean, there's much more in it, but I would say these are the most important aspects. So, yeah, I hope that clarified it. And here we have a question about the workflow, creating the song and making of the video. So someone just wants to know generally, maybe a bit more of how we work. And I mean, we've mentioned some things already.
Yeah, but listening can be I don't want to say something that might be misunderstood, because every project has its own workflow, and I don't want to put like a concept that might be taken as a pattern, and then after that it will not be relevant to many places. I mean, the work in this project would be different than others, so it depends. It is very it's like if you want to build a house, it's not enough just to say you make 1, 2, 3, 4. Because every step has a large amount of complexity and factors, and so it is impossible to answer this.
Yeah.
About the workflow, it is a lot of details. It requires a course on its own.
Yeah, I can confirm it. I mean, just something that we can say generally, that we enjoy working with each other. I mean, this is there's no doubt about that, and also I feel like the ideas are being ping-ponged very nicely. So one has an idea, and then you come up with something, and it leverages the whole thing and brings more layers, and then I have an idea again. So it's a dynamic process, let's say. It's not like this 1, 2, 3, 4. We have one concept and one pattern that we impose on this, and it's every time different. Also, it always depends. That's also why I wanted to just mention about the songwriting, that the theme and the topic is always in the center, so everything goes around it, and all the decisions come out of that. So whatever it is regarding the song and the structure of the song, but also the video, so everything circling around the main theme.
Yeah, but even if you have the topic in the center, okay, you need an ability to observe reality in order to tell its story. How can, if I want to hear the story from the point of view of the enabler, of the sheep, why would it include universal values that people can connect with it? You know what I mean? So even the topic, the main theme is an observation. It's based on a vision, how we perceive reality. So this is the aspect of philosophy and psychology. Is not disconnected from the artistic process. But even if talking about this, it is not for granted. It is not common sense at all. Like, not everyone can perceive reality in a way that is honest. No, not everyone. Many people are so brainwashed that they prefer to deny reality, that they prefer to deny the truth. You know, they might be working on mainstream media. They might be working on TV, on in films, and they have a lot of money from the government in order to produce certain productions that are in alignment with the agenda of that sponsor/government. They don't need necessarily to talk about the honest observation of reality. They just sell an agenda. But me as an artist who is free of sponsorships and free of governments controlling my content, I can afford seeing reality and talk about it honestly. But this is a privilege that not every artist has.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, we can do what we want, basically.
Yeah. But this is not for granted. So even like the main theme is not just if you want to work as a director for the government or for any commercial entity. No problem with commercial. I'm just saying. And also no problem with the government if it's honest and if it's a client. No, not anyway. So if you want to work for them, you have a clear agenda. There's no space for you now to put your observation of reality and to think about philosophy and to think about psychology. No. You just sell the agenda. You're a technician here. You work for the TV, you're a technician. You're not an artist, a director. Don't believe that you're really a director. You are here to facilitate the transportation of an agenda. That's it.
That's maybe the most important answer to the workflow question in general, because this is
Start from there, from being sovereign and independent, and then see reality in a sovereign way without manipulation, without falling into the traps of propaganda and the traps of social indoctrinations. Start from there.
And this is also way, way, way more important than anything else, like the tools, what we use, how exactly the technicalities. Because I have this also sometimes that people ask about the technicalities, what kind of tools we use, and so on. And when I tell them it's not about the tools, they look at me sometimes like, what do you mean? Like, of course, like the tools are important. Yeah, you need them, but that's why they are tools. But this is the essence. Being sovereign in the work, having something to say, and just spit it out freely in an artistic, of course, knowledgeable, artistic way in the structure. Like those things are way more important. Also, the artistic expression. This comes way before all the tools that you use and the technicalities. So we can. It's funny. I
always love about this the idea of the tools.
I also love tools, by the way.
No, because I imagine somebody goes to a constructor or to an architect or to somebody who's building something, and it tells me, what are the tools that you use in order to build the house? I want also to build the house. If you don't know the tools that are necessary to build the house, it means that you don't know how to build the house, and you're going to bring a disaster upon the people who are going to live in that house. So let's go. It's not about the tools. If you don't know the tools, it means that you don't know how to build in the first place. Asking about the tools shows level of ignorance. You don't go to an architect. What are the tools that you use to architect a building? Okay, then go. You have endless of tutorials online. You can go and learn about all the tools possible. You can try the tools. You can have the best studio in the house or in, I don't know. But the ability to create in a sovereign manner, the ability to observe reality honestly, and to connect that with all the knowledge of cinematography and dramaturgy and editing and the knowledge of psychology and the knowledge of and the philosophical background and all that into one unit, this is not something that you can just know by tools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would even say like the tools is more like the 1% of the whole process, and everything else is.
The tools are dictated by the need.
Yeah.
I know what I need, and then I choose the relevant tool for the relevant need. But you can't tell me, okay, I need to take something out, and they give me a guitar. Guitar is a tool of music. It's not relevant to the task here. And every task requires different set of tools.
Yeah.
So nobody can tell me what the tools. I know tools for what?
Yeah.
To create a scene, and even like if you want to know what microphone you should use, dependent on what do you want to use it for?
Exactly.
Do you want to use it for, like, there's many objectives, and every objective dictates a different kind of tools. And of course, if someone is an amateur or has a purpose to create something that has to do with hobbies or like activity for the free time or something like this, forget about everything that I say. Go, do whatever you want. Buy the tools, experiment, enjoy, learn. Go to any workshops. I'm talking only about professional objectives. Professional objectives require a professional attitude, and that requires a different kind of discipline. So everything has the relevant motives, the relevant objectives, the relevant needs, and you can't generalize. This is the power of expertise, that you have a specific problem and you come to an expert and he can solve that specific problem. He will not give you a general concept of how to solve a problem, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not so. The person might feel good with themselves that they had a concept, that they had 5 steps of to do something, but that will not solve a problem. A problem to solve, it requires an expert who has a vision, who knows how the structure should look like and where is what needs to be fixed. And you have, you want to fix a car, you want to fix the electricity in the house, you need someone who knows how to work with all this.
And also when it comes to art, to know what to focus on, like what are the relevant things here and which ones are less relevant. So when I hear people focus more on if they use a drone or fancy tools again, like so this is more important for some people than focusing on the story and the right message or how they want to deliver the message or all those things that are your field, your expertise. So,
I mean, again, if somebody is an amateur or somebody who's making it as a hobby, or you know what, even someone who's a professional that works for the government, do whatever you want. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about artists who want to create sovereignly. Sovereignly. As sovereign artists, budgets are crucial. So I can't afford wasting money on experimentation and on learning from my mistakes. The governmental artists, the bureaucratic artists can throw and waste so much money because anyway the taxpayer pays. So they can spend money and waste money on experimentations, on mistakes, and on hiring the wrong people. But as a profession, as a sovereign, professional sovereign artist, we have a totally different approach towards how we create things in order for the project to succeed and to resonate and hopefully to bring income and revenue.
Yeah.
And to inspire also, like, of course.
This is for many artists the most important actually. They want to reach people. Mm-hmm. And to touch them emotionally or move them or put something meaningful into the world. So usually that's what's lying beneath it. So yeah, so much about the tools, because here was also a question about it. So I asked you about the tools. Okay, so we covered that in some way, maybe a bit different than the question what was meant, but I move on to this is leading to that one. How we can work on musical projects professionally. So some advices. Can you give us some advices?
You need to study. It's not. I understand. Again, if you do it for the hobby, or for activity for the free time or something like this, do whatever you want. There's no rules. You can do whatever you want. It's all about enjoying what you're doing. But when it comes to professional creation, you need to study. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know what you're doing. I know that people confuse activity for the free time, for the enjoyment, and professional creation for the purpose of inspiration and for income. It's two different fields. It's two different worlds.
Yeah.
So you need to study and you need to know what you're doing and you need to hire the right people for the right purposes. And I can't answer that in an interview. And in my case, I studied 3 years at university, every day from the morning till the evening, rehearsals until 11 o'clock at night. And then I went to work in the mall in order to finance all that. 3 years every day. 3 years every day. In addition to all the work on sets and in films and on TV and in the theater, on stages and off stages, and all that allows me to be able to create sovereign art like this. But so somebody who's not investing in the journey of knowledge and skill and study, I have no idea how it's going to happen, honestly.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be necessarily university study. Which is, of course, the best or often the high level. It depends on the place and the country. But I mean, studying means really to learn it profoundly and to work on it and to put all the work inside that is necessary.
Yeah, of course. And studying is not only paying money for the university or going every day. Studying means that you dedicate everything in order to be able to understand what this is about. It is going every day for the purpose of studying. Many people give the minimum and they think that they will get the maximum out of it. This is not like that. It is really It's a lot of work.
It's a lifestyle. I mean, musicians practice every day. Sometimes
Also, you practice every day.
I practice every day, yeah.
Sincere, like since I know you, you practice every day. Like,
I always work on perfectionism, or how you say in English. It's not right.
And then someone comes and he sees that project, and he says, "Tell me just what are the tools that you use. Don't tell me only what are the tools that you use." You say years of education and learning and studying and experimenting and working and growing, and somebody sees the final project, which is the tip of the iceberg, without seeing what underneath, and says, "Just it's the tools that makes it look like that. It's not the tools."
No, it's not. It's the tools can change anyway. They all the time change. Technical development is very dynamic. So, okay. I have a question here from a German. Just let me read, and it's in German, so I'm going to.
Maybe this should be the last one, because I think that
I think even it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's the last one. So she's asking, I'm wondering, how do you do all that? Maybe I read it all because it's interesting. Okay, hello Maria, I'm a musician from Berlin. I've been following your channel for 6 years and I find it very impressive. Thank you very much. To be honest, I was surprised.
We need to say the names of the people in order to keep their privacy.
Okay, I can read it.
No, it's fine, it's fine. No, continue.
Yeah. To be honest, I was surprised that you are from Berlin, and if I did my research correctly, that you even work independently without a label or funding. Yeah, that's right. I mean, we work independently. Yeah, and that's why I'm wondering, how do you do all that? That's the first question. I don't know any other artists from Berlin, or actually from all over Germany, who do something like this, especially not with only 2 people. Or do you have other people in your team? She's asking. So what you do also inspired me, and I tried myself, but after a short time I gave up making videos because it seemed so hopeless. Okay. So I would really like to know how you manage this, and maybe this will help me to continue. Okay, wow, good. First of all, I can confirm your observation about Berlin or Germany. I was actually myself looking for people who do similar things like us, who do a channel like this, or like create independently without funding. And I was looking all over the place and I couldn't find until now. I mean, maybe there are people out there, but if they are watching now, they can also gladly contact us. But I've really not found anyone, so I can confirm that observation. It's sad. Yeah, so she asks, how do you do all that? I mean, one very important aspect here is that I'm not doing that alone, even it might look like that. We are 2 people, so first of all, I have Shreddy next to me. That is, since we started, so it's like 12 years ago, something like that. Let's say like this, before I started working with Shreddy, I was trying also some things on my own, and I was trying to work with other people in Berlin and with artists, and I had a lot of bad experiences with that too, in the sense of there was a lack of commitment, there was a lot of distractions in the projects, not the focus on the essence. I had a hard time to find competent people, and that's why the moment I started working with you, everything changed. So, because I found finally someone who's competent, who really knows what he's doing, who has the right work ethics, and you were really pulling me out of that confusion of the Berlin artist scene. So this is one very important factor here, because you say, how do you do all that? I could have not done it without Shreddy, without that direction, that artist direction. And second of all, really crucial is that I was making myself free from all the distractions, not only the people I worked with before, but also to get to a point where I can be sovereign, not to be dependent on any funds or labels or running after those governmental structures. So this is very important. Then the aspect of the knowledge, the studying, of course, practicing, really working on the skills. So there's no way around that. To realize such projects, you have to make the work and really to go the whole journey. There's no shortcuts in that. So what else can I give on the way here? So yeah, I would really say the most important thing is sovereignty and independence. The moment as artists, we are still running after those structures or gatekeepers that are holding certain positions or money or opportunities for us, that we think they are something better than what we hold in our own hands. As long as we are running after them, it will not happen. So you first have to throw away all of those gatekeepers and really stick to what you want to do, your artistic identity, and then grab the people or the person that is really competent, like I did. I'm working with someone. So stick to those who really know what they are doing, who show an achievement, and second of all, or third of all, don't give up. Like, even if it's hard, because you say even you gave up on making videos because it seemed hopeless. This is also something. I mean, maybe you can say more to that factor, because you met a lot of people also who.
The thing is that if you don't know how to plant the seed and transform it into fruit, you can be 10 years, 20 years, try. It will never happen. If you're improvising, regardless of how persistent you are, if you don't know what you're doing, you will never transform the seed into fruit. So knowledge is crucial here. Knowledge. After you have the knowledge and you know what you're doing and you have the vision, then you need to be consistent. Otherwise, you will lose hope. Because if you are planting seeds and you work on it and you give it water and you give it light and it's not growing, it's frustrating, I can understand. Now here's the thing also in Berlin, I call it the Berlin disaster. I know it since when I came to Berlin in the beginning. It's fascinating the amount of people that think very highly of themselves and they talk as if they know exactly what they're doing and they have no achievement and they have no idea what they're talking about. I know a woman that teaches at university. She's almost 70 years old. She never performed on stage. She never was singing on stage. She never acted on stage or never directed. She was never been off stage, on screen, off screen, nothing. But she teaches performance at university. And people have no problem with that. Can you imagine which situation? It's at university, German university. In the beginning, when I came to Berlin, I tried to make a project. And I went to a studio to record some of my projects. And the guy sitting on the control room with a lot of equipment, and he has a studio. The guy has no idea what he's talking about. The guy just doesn't know what sound engineering is. He just doesn't know. They invest so much in the facade and in the image, and people think that they know what they're doing, and they just don't. So you really need to be aware of this phenomena in Berlin, where people invest, they have money to invest in studios. I know someone that teaches acting. He never studied acting, never performed as an actor, never on stage or on screen, but he has an acting school where he teaches acting just because he was a director assistant of some director. That's it. That's it. No Stanislavski, no Chekhov, no Grotowski, no Peter Brook, no nothing, didn't study any of those. But he teaches acting because they think that if he's it must be that he knows what he's doing. It looks like this. He's genius, born ready to teach and to coach. He doesn't need to study. This is a phenomenon in Berlin where people can appear sophisticated, but actually they have no idea what they're talking about and what they are doing. They didn't study really, especially in the art scene. I'm not talking now about engineering and about motors and about cars and about economy and bankers, and I'm not talking about any of those. It's not my field, it's not my industry, so I don't know how it works there. My industry, from my observation, since the day I came to Berlin, about 11 years ago, the art scene is a disaster here. So you really need to be aware of this phenomenon of people talk too much. They don't have an achievement. So if someone comes to you and he says, yeah, I have an opinion, we should do this and we should do that, and tell him, what is your achievement? No, not the achievement that you coach and teach, or you're a psychologist psychologizing to people about life. Not that kind of achievement. What is your project that you created? If you're an actor, you must have been acting in films. If you're a performer, you must have been performed in projects. If you are so also in Berlin, they invented those concepts that in order to be a teacher, you don't need to know, in order to be an acting teacher, you don't need to be an actor. In order to be a directing teacher, you don't need to be a director. They invented such concepts in order to sell their scams to the world. You need to be very aware of those because if you work with the government, it's something else. You can get paid by the politicians and from the taxes paid by people like us, actually. But you'll be more easy to work. But if you want to be a sovereign artist, creating your own art, reaching audience beyond your friends and family and colleagues, audience that is beyond that cycle of the people that you know personally, where they can reward your contribution and reward your projects and acknowledge your skills. People that you don't know personally. If you want that, you need to act in a different way. And you need to pay attention to those people who talk a lot without having an achievement. So if somebody tells you something like this, tells him, before you talk so confidently, where is your achievement? Don't talk. Show me what you know. Show me what you created so I can evaluate the achievement first. So there's, if you're in, I don't know how it's in all Germany, but I know in Berlin the situation is not flattering to the art scene. It's not flattering.
Sadly.
So yeah, I understand. Such channel like Maria has, with such resonance and such music production and media production and such journey, it is rare, especially when it's not hijacked by governmental entities or by some kind of labels and management and stuff like this. Yeah, it's a sovereign artist to create a sovereign project, that's it. And also you have an audience that like that, and that's why they resonate and that's why they feedback.
The thing is also many know about that it's more attractive, that it looks as if it's independent and not being funded or influenced by a governmental structure, for example. So they don't make it visible sometimes on the outside. So I also fell in this trap in that sense that when I was looking for those projects, I found some that on the outside a little bit, they looked like as if there might be something going on. So, but when I was digging deeper, I saw that they're actually part of a huge label, like either like Universal, Sony or something like this, or they are funded by the government directly. So they're really the music videos, and they just applied for certain funds, the artists, and or it's already a project that is embedded into a bigger structure of a place that is financed by the government. So you always get there somehow. So sometimes it can look as if it's an independent project that was just made by the artist, but when you dig a bit deeper, you see that it's not, or you find certain hints on websites somewhere in the sponsor section, or I'm really looking for those things because I want to work with independent people who are sovereign, who are not influenced by those mindsets, and it's super important. It's a total different situation when you work with free artists.
When we work with assistants or people to help us with the projects, we hire people for specific tasks.
Yeah.
Like bring me the lens, build this, put that. Well, I would not, until today, I can't hire cinematographers. I don't trust that they know what they're doing. I'm speaking about people outside the governmental scene, because the governmental scene has its own budgets and its own people. I'm speaking about the independent scene. It is that's why when we work with people, it means that people that are supposed to make like certain tasks that is very specific and simple. They don't require so much creativity and initiative and Berlin is a difficult place.
Yeah.
It's a difficult place when it comes to despite all the image, not to fall into that trap. There's a lot of image.
I can say that I was really lost in that pool before I was working with you. It's not easy to detect this, and it's also very shiny, and so I mean, yeah, it should not sound from above or something like that, but it's just the reality that I faced over and over again. So it's better to know it and to avoid those mistakes than to run into it and to waste a lot of money and time, and it's not worth it. So and for me it needed someone to look from the outside, like to really a point of view from someone that didn't live in this place for all his life, that comes from a total different background, from a professional background, that worked with in so many different projects all over the world, to really detect that, because I also couldn't really see that from my point of view, from the Berlin artist scene. I didn't detect the issues. So it was more like, okay, I'm stuck again here with that. Why is it not working with those artists? Why is the work ethic so negative? And why is it not moving forwards? And so it was more that, actually I thought it's me. I'm the problem, to be honest. I thought it for a while, that I'm just the problem. So,
the environment is also difficult, and the way that the Sozialmarktwirtschaft works and how it influences the mindset of people, where competent people are not being rewarded, incompetent people are getting money from the government and so kind of the whole thing is messed up. The whole thing. So it is on many layers, this thing goes.
Yeah.
So you really need people who know what they're doing. But it's very rare.
Mm-hmm. And also have a plan, structure this whole thing in a knowledgeable way, because it saves so much pain and time and money. So.
Okay, I think we had a lot. We talked a lot. And, do you want to share anything, or we can just wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can wrap this up. This was a huge journey.
Okay, thank you everyone for staying with us. We're glad we could.
Thank you so much.
And,
it was really great. Your questions were amazing.
Enjoy the work. Ciao.
Bye. Das ist sehr grün hier. Es leuchtet sehr.